Alright, so before we get into the video, I just want to show you guys something real quick. 96% of you guys are not subscribed, and that is
No bueno.
if you do see this video and you keep seeing me in your recommendations, like the featured or whatever, make sure you hit that subscribe button because it only takes 2 seconds and it does help motivate me to make more videos for you guys because I truly do like making videos. But let's get into the video. Today's video will be about the NFL mock draft, and this is my 3.0 mock draft. If you have seen my other videos, you know exactly what's going on, but if you are brand new, we're using the website Pro Football Focus. They have a pretty cool mock draft simulator, and you can see on your screens that we're going to be controlling all 32 teams. In my last couple other videos, there were basically no trades in my regular NFL round 1 mock draft, but today's video will be with trades, so let's get into it. And now we're skipping right to the Cardinals. You can see on the left side of the screen that those are the players that I picked with the certain teams. Like the Bears will select Caleb Williams, Washington Commanders will select Jaden Daniels, and Drake May will be going to the Patriots. I do think that those three are basically solidified. If anything, Drake May and Jaden Daniels might swap. It could be a possibility, but like I said, the Cardinals they have a lot of speculation about maybe they might trade their pick. They do have a second first round pick. It's like number 26, 27, something like that. And I think that the Cardinals might end up trading it, but in my personal opinion, I don't think they will, and I think they will end up drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. from Ohio State. And now you can see on the screens that the Chargers are due for number 5 pick, and I think that the Chargers will end up trading this pick with the Minnesota Vikings. And we've all seen the reports that J.J. McCarthy is projected to go to the Vikings, and he's going up higher and higher in the draft boards. Supposedly he's doing like really good with all his scouting and all that. But I think that the Chargers are in a weird situation. They do need a lot of offensive pieces, but I think that, with the draft capital that the Vikings might give to the Chargers for trading, I think it's going to be a really smart move if they made this trade. So I think that the Minnesota Vikings will end up trading their 11th pick, the 23rd overall pick, and a 4th round pick, which is the 129th pick from the Detroit Lions, all for the Chargers' 5th round pick. And this is basically going off the scale of the Rich Hill trading scale. I showed it in my Packers video where it's like a big chart of like all these draft picks, and it basically weighs each draft pick. And I think that it's actually a really cool little system. It's really easy to look at. But like I said, I think that if anything, the Vikings are overpaying for this trade just because of the 2 first round picks already and then the 4th round. But I think that the Chargers will easily accept this, and I think that the Vikings will also easily trade this away. So let's get into it. And so I just forced a trade. Like I said, the mock draft simulator on here is kind of whack with trades. I think that the Vikings will end up drafting J.J. McCarthy. Now, he's ranked 29th, but we all know that the Vikings really need a quarterback. So, long story short, Vikings trade up with the Chargers. They draft J.J. McCarthy. And now, with the Giants pick, their Giants had the option of drafting a quarterback. It was passed by their owner, or kind of agreed upon they can draft a quarterback, but I don't think they will now since the top 4 quarterbacks are off the board. So I think they're going to go with Joe Alt from Notre Dame, a tackle. And now the Titans are on the clock, and they could go offensive lineman. They could go wide receiver or something like that, as you can see on the screen. Even though they just paid Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins is getting a little bit older. I think that they might try to get the best wide receiver available. Malik Neighbors from LSU is going to the Titans. Now the Falcons have had a pretty good offseason so far. They could go cornerback. They could go D-line, and I think that they will boost up their D-line by adding Jerzon Newton from Illinois. And now the Bears are on the clock again. They just drafted Caleb Williams. I really do think that Rome Odunze is a really good fit over there. Even they just got Keenan Allen, I think that they really need a strong number 3 wide receiver. Rome Odunze is going to the Bears. And now with the Jets pick, even though they had a pretty relatively good offseason by adding a lot of veteran players, especially on the offensive line like Tyron Smith, but I think that, even though they did sign these players, I think that they still need help offensive line wise. And I think they're going to draft the best available one, Talise Fuoga. And by the way, I'm going to completely be butchering these names because some of these names are just atrocious. But you see the guy on the screen from Oregon State. And now this was the Vikings pick, and now it is officially the Chargers pick. And I think that they're going to end up selecting Brock Bowers from Georgia. And now the Denver Broncos are definitely another team that needs a quarterback pretty bad. They have not signed anybody yet this offseason, and the top 4 or 5 quarterbacks already went off the board as it is. So they're going to end up drafting Bo Nix from Oregon. And now the Raiders are a team that need a lot of position players, but with mainly the quarterbacks being selected already, the quarterback, their main quarterback needs is not that strong as the other teams like the Broncos and Vikings. But I think they're going to end up drafting one of the defensive backs. So Quinton Mitchell from Toledo will be going to the Raiders. And now the Saints are also in another weird predicament where they need, wide receiver Michael Thomas. I think is a free agent right now. And I think that their offensive line is more weaker than it should be. And I think they're going to end up drafting this guy, Troy Fautanu from Washington. So he's going to New Orleans Saints. I think in my very first NFL mock draft, I had Cooper DeJean going to the Colts. And I still agree with it that Cooper DeJean will be going to the Colts. I think it just makes perfect sense. The Seattle Seahawks definitely need defense. They lost a lot of people on that defense, even though they added Jerome Baker, middle linebacker. But I think they're going to go for edge rusher. And probably the best available right here, the guy from UCLA, Laitu Latu. These names are just ridiculous. Even though the Jacksonville Jaguars ended up signing Ronald Darby to extension, I think that not an extension, but due to free agency. But I think that the Jaguars really need cornerback help. And I think that Terrion Arnold from Alabama is a perfect fit over there. And now with the Bengals pick, I think that the Bengals offensive line is in pretty good shape. They signed a couple of guys in free agency. So I think they're going to get one of the better defensive players, especially on that D-line. I think that Brian Murphy II from Texas is going to the Bengals. And now with the Rams, I think that they're going to try to address the defensive line, especially now that Aaron Donald just retired. And I think that Dallas Turner from Alabama will be going to the Los Angeles Rams. The Steelers could be in a predicament where they could make a trade. Honestly, they did a really good job during this free agency period, with the trades and all that. But I do think they're going to end up drafting, actually drafting and not trading this pick. And I think they're going to try to address the cornerback position from Nate Wiggins from Clemson will be going to the Steelers. And now the Dolphins definitely need offensive line help, even though that Teron Armstead ended up staying and not retiring. I think they're going to try to address the other side of the offensive line. So Lumia Fashanu from Penn State is going to Miami. And now the Eagles are on the clock. I think they've also had a really good offseason so far, and they lost Jason Kelce. I think they're going to end up addressing that position immediately by drafting Jackson Powers Johnson from Oregon. And now the Chargers are on the clock again, and Khalil Mack is getting older. We don't know how much longer he's going to have in NFL, so I think they're going to end up drafting Jared Verse, which is a pretty good pick for them from Florida State, is going to the Chargers. And now the Cowboys are on the clock, and they're definitely drafting offensive line. They lost Tyron Smith due to free agency. I think they're going to end up drafting the best one available, J.C. Latham from Alabama. And I also think the Packers will draft offensive line due to the how much players are left in the draft. And I think that Amarius Mims from Georgia will be going to the Packers. The Bucks could definitely need some secondary help, and I think they're going to end up drafting the best one available. And now it looks like I keep drafting the top one, but it's really not like that. Kool-Aid McKinstry is going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And now I just made another trade with the Arizona Cardinals and the Cleveland Browns. And I think that, the Cleveland Browns didn't have a first-round pick. They had like a late second-round pick or something like that. And I think that the Cardinals are kind of in a predicament where they could trade their last first-round pick from our draft capital. I ended up trading a second-round pick from this year and a second-round pick from next year for the Browns in order for the Cardinals' first-round pick. And I think that the Browns, like I said, they jumped like 30 spots or something. They see this guy, Graham Barton from Duke. He looks like a stud right now. And I think even though their offensive line is not that bad right now, I think they're going to end up drafting Graham Barton from Duke. And now the Browns just took the best player available for the Buffalo Bills. And I think that the Bills are now going to kind of alter their plans. I think that they're going to end up drafting Tyler Guyton from Oklahoma. Now, the Lions are on the clock, and they're in a really good situation, if I had to be honest. And I think that since they lost C.J. Gardner-Johnson, I think they're going to end up drafting Tyler Nubin from Minnesota. And now the Ravens are on the clock. They lost Patrick Queen. And in my last 2 mock drafts, I did have the same pick going to the Ravens. I think that it really could be a possibility. It could be a stretch, but they really need a linebacker. So Peyton Willis from North Carolina State. And now with the 49ers, it seems like they don't need anything because they're a stacked team as it is. But I do think they're going to end up attacking that secondary. And I think that TJ Tampa from Iowa State will be going to the 49ers. And the last but not least, the Chiefs, who won the Super Bowl back-to-back years and could be for the 3rd time in a row. You know, their team's in a really good predicament. But with the wide receiver Rashee Rice, we don't know what's going on with him yet. I don't think it's going to be anything too serious, but I could be wrong. But I think that Brian Thomas Jr., who ended up falling so much in my draft, will be going to the Chiefs, and that is a complete steal, by the way, for them. But that wraps up this video. If you do like it, hit that like button. Comment down below your reactions. I know you guys don't agree with me 100%, but I do want to see your guys' opinions, and that's basically it. So I'm out of here. Deuces.